Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Aqua. Once again, I am sorry for not getting a video out yesterday. I was unable to find any time to record at all. So sorry. Today we are going to be reading the next chapter of SOULTIDE. The warnings for this chapter are canon typical violence, Grian mother henning Mumbo, and Doc giving off mad scientist vibes. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for listening and enjoy the episode. The night had passed without much fanfare once Grian made sure Mumbo's wings weren't in too bad of a state. A new privacy wall had been hurriedly constructed inside his house, then promptly taken down in the morning. "Your wings are tiny, and you've been hiding them all these months?" Mumbo craned his neck, trying to see what Grian was doing. "Well, yes, but obviously I didn't take your entire soul, or else I don't think you'd be, alive and well, so I most likely only have a little bit of Elytrian in me. I have no idea what kind of magic you messed with last season, but I'm not sure if I want to know," Grian said, continuing to massage Mumbo's red feathers with a washcloth, crunching off the hardened bits and letting the specks of dust cover the bed sheets. "Anyway, you have the wings of a toddler. You won't be able to fly with these for a long time. Still, it can't have been comfortable keeping these under your clothes all that time. When I took a break from the server, I had a chance to switch up my wardrobe and let them air out, so to speak," Mumbo offered. "But you had no one around to teach you how to preen," Grian said. It wasn't a question. "No," Mumbo agreed with a dejected sigh. "Watching you preen is very different from when it comes to doing it myself." Someone knocked at the door, interrupting Grian's preening. "Grian!" Scar's voice called out. "Grian!" Grian got up and grabbed one of his sweaters, throwing it at Mumbo before he answered the door. They could tailor Mumbo's clothes for wings later. He opened the door with just enough room to let him slip out, then quickly shut it behind him, keeping Scar from seeing Mumbo. While he didn't agree with hiding Mumbo's wings from everyone, Grian at least wanted to give him control over how the others found out. "Yeah, Scar?" Scar greeted Grian with a big smile that promised unscrumptious ideas behind it. He had traded his explorer's outfit for his red and gold robes, and for his face he had something more charming. Scar's smoothed over and ears sharpened into a point, but he was always recognizable as Scar. "Good morning. I just wanted to come by and see how you were doing," he said with an edge to his voice Grian couldn't identify. "As your soulmate, I need to watch out for you." Grian grinned warily. "Let's leave all that back in Double Life, all right?" I'm fine, Scar. I've just got to talk to Doc about something, and I want to catch him as soon as he logs in, so I don't have time to stay and chat." Opening the door a crack, he threw over his shoulder, "Mumbo, are you ready to go?" There was a faint rustle of feathers, then a scuffle of shoes on the floorboards. Mumbo appeared at the door. Yeah," Mumbo swallowed, eyes darting between the other two hermits. "Scar, please don't freak out." Scar raised an eyebrow. "Unless you're hiding a creeper in there, I'm pretty sure I can handle it." Mumbo didn't respond. He stepped out of Grian's house, wearing a borrowed red sweater, and he turned around to show off his back. His wings tentatively stretched out and shivered. He chuckled awkwardly. Surprise, I'm part of Elytrian now?" "Wow, that's so cool. Can I feel them?" Scar reached out a hand towards Mumbo's wings, but waited for permission. "Why would I be freaked out by this? To be fair, you can be pretty unpredictable sometimes," Grian pointed out. "And no, you may not. You'll mess up all my preening. My hands are clean, see?" Scar held out his hands to show off clean palms. Grian was firm. "No. Now come on, Mumbo. You head to Doc's shop and I'll see if I can find X to pass along the message." "Not the perimeter?" Mumbo frowned, and adjusting the fit of the sweater. "Doc's always over there nowadays." "Yeah, but you can actually walk to Doc's shop. We'll just meet up there. Sound good?" "Oh, right, the Elytra issue. Thanks, Grian." Grian nodded and turned, rockets in hand, and ready to take a running start to lift off. But Scar grabbed his arm to stop him. "Grian, wait." Scar was no longer smiling. Don't die. Grian stared, his brain coming to a spluttering stop. Because what was he supposed to say to that? This was Hermitcraft, where the three of them pushed each other from dizzying heights, and they caught each other standing too close to the edge. This was the server where death meant waking up in bed with a headache and a scream of frustration when they realized their gear was gone. This wasn't like Double Life here. Scar was still staring at him with that serious expression, dark emerald eyes no longer holding no indicator of how many lives he held, waiting for a response. Sometimes Grian didn't know what went on in Scar's mind, but they were friends. Grian cleared his throat. Okay, he finally said, shrugging off Scar's hand. I'll do my best not to die today. Promise me. What? Grian cut himself off and sighed. Okay. He threw his arms up in surrender, marching back inside his house. He swiped a golden figurine off one of the upper shelves, and he came out waving it around. Look, I've even got a totem of undying. I promise I'll be safe. Happy now? A smile broke Scar's stone face, and he nodded. Yep. Grian rolled his eyes, but couldn't keep a smile from tugging at his lips as well. He held the totem tight as he launched off in search of the server's admin. Whatever was on Scar's mind, it seemed like it was important to him, so he would do his best to honor that promise. As he flew, Grian searched for little changes in the landscape below. Practically half the server had been away for a couple days, leaving the rest of them to diligently grind away at projects. The chat was unexpectedly active that morning when Grian tapped his communicator. Gemini Tay has joined the game. False Symmetry has joined the game. Gemini Tay. Good morning, Hermitcraft. We're back. Izuma Void. Welcome back. BOO. Someone is pranking me. Tango Tech. Same. Someone's invis in my base. Vintage Beef. This early in the morning? Grian. Hey X, meet at your shop? Izuma Void. Sure, I spent all night underground, and I could do with seeing the sun. BOO. Scar, if this is you again, I swear I will saw those ears off with an axe. Truly, there never was a boring day on the server. Izuma stood at the base of his tower in the shopping district, waving up to him. Grian, Izuma greeted him when he flew down to meet him. To what do I owe the pleasure? Izuma, Grian grinned. I was hoping you could send Doc a message for me. I need to talk to him about Verp stuff. The eyes behind Izuma's helmet turned concerned. Are you getting errors from your VR pod? If you have the logs, I can send them up for someone to look at. No, it's not for me, Grian corrected, crossing his hands in an X. It's Mumbo. He needs some adjustments to his Verp. Ah, Mumbo. Izuma put a hand to his chin in thought. He raised an eyebrow. Has he turned himself into a potato again? Yes, I recall they had issues with his VR pod before. They should have those specifications saved somewhere. It's something new, Grian hedged. Just get Doc for us, please. Izuma sighed and tapped his communicator, typing in commands Grian couldn't see. Text appeared on the visor of his helmet as he typed. Thanks. I really should be in the loop about these things, Grian, Izuma said seriously. I'm your admin. Your health and safety is my responsibility. Yeah, I know. I'm an admin too, Grian reminded him, dismissing the lecture. He would have grouched about not having the same access as Izuma, but a ping from his communicator distracted him. Izuma Void. It can't be Grian. He's right here with me. Izuma Void. Have you considered someone might have hidden redstone in your bases? Zedaf. Nobody's pranking me. I feel a little left out. The chat was full of conversation, still talk about invisible pranksters. Mumbo vouched for Scar's innocence, which wasn't believed, and only drew suspicion on him as well. Sent the message. Oh, here we go. Hello, Doc. Izuma pressed his helmet against his ear, listening to something. Grian leaned forward. Can you take a look at Mumbo's VR pod? Grian wants to talk to you about something to do with it. It seems Mumbo's gotten himself into more transformation magic. Izuma nodded, and he looked at Grian. Yeah, how recent is this development? I don't know. I just learned about it last night, Grian replied. Mumbo can explain it better, probably. So it could have been a few days ago. His VR pod needs to be recalibrated either way. He paused, listening. Okay, I'll tell him, thanks. Uzuma dropped his hand from his ear, focusing on Grian again. The call put to an end. Doc will be on in a few minutes, Uzuma said. I trust you'll keep any details private? Yeah, I know the drill, Grian dismissed, waving him off and starting to flap his wings. We'll be near spawn. Doc M77 has joined the game. Grian. Yo, Doc, your starter house? Doc M77. Right away. I'm guessing the wings are the issue were Doc's first words when he walked into the modern sandstone building. The doctor had always made Grian feel on edge when he was around him. Part goat, part human, part bionic, part creeper. The man looked like he had stumbled out of a very unethical lab, and Grian didn't want to ask how much of that was from experiments done on himself. It was probably the creeper part that activated some primal flight instinct in him. To his credit, Doc worked this fear factor into his own amusement. The bridge between hermits and everything they weren't allowed to reach consisted of two people, Uzuma and Doc, which brought Grian to calling on the man who regularly just tried to destroy the server with giant redstone contraptions. Doc shot an unamused look at the pair. Now there are two pesky birds running around the server. Mumbo chuckled nervously, fiddling with the product signs in the shop as a way to avoid looking at the unnerving goat man. Yep, Grian crossed his arms over his chest. He's probably going to need the same settings on his verp that are on mine. Doc hummed. Take off your shirt, both of you. Both Mumbo and Grian bristled. What, here? But that's so indecent! Mumbo near shrieked, while Grian spluttered, both of their faces red as could be. I don't need anything adjusted, Grian insisted. It's just Mumbo. Leave me out of this. Doc chuckled, sending shivers down Grian's spine. Both of you, he repeated. I just need a pair of healthy wings to compare against Mumbo's. We are in a glass house. I have spare blocks. I can build a quick wall, Doc offered, his grin too sharp for Grian's liking. And why here? Can't we do it in a lab or at least somewhere more private? This could be serious. Better do it now. Mumbo and Grian glanced at each other. After a long moment, Grian broke, groaning loudly in defeat. Ugh, fine. A quick wall of scrap deep slate blocked off the windows. Grian resolutely refused to look at Doc or Mumbo once the sweaters were shed, craning his neck to look somewhere at the ceiling instead. However, he was keenly aware of Doc's penetrating gaze as he fixed his feathers that had been ruffled from that action. They started growing in near the end of last season after doing some magic with Grian's soul on myself, Mumbo explained, voice shaking. I've been covering them up most of the time, and this is how big they are now. They're baby-sized, Grian mumbled. You said they were toddler wings earlier, Mumbo accused, sounding hurt. Same thing. Grian stiffened when he felt Doc's hands on his wings. One cold and robotic, one warm. Hey, don't tug on them. I have a few loose feathers I can give you if you want a sample test. That dark hissing chuckle. Calm down, I'm just gathering observations. Grian knew when Doc tugged on Mumbo's feathers as well, thanks to the noise of surprise next to him. Grian, you're the expert. Are these going to grow bigger? Probably. That was the best answer he had. It wasn't like he had ever met an Elytrian who hadn't been born that way. He had experience from growing up with other Elytrian families who had kids. But, Grian added, they probably won't grow bigger than mine, and it'll take months at least to get to that point. Then he'll need a new virtual reality pod. What? What's wrong with my old pod? That was the end of the half-naked observations, Grian decided. He grabbed his sweater and crammed it over his head. The standard design you're using has your back up against cushioning, Doc explained, unfazed by the shock he was inciting. The pesky bird has a different model that you'll now need. Just please tell me I haven't screwed myself up too badly with this. Doc didn't reply. Doc? Grian felt a lump in his throat, his mind jumping to the worst logical conclusion. If Doc didn't want to tell them, something was definitely wrong. You would feel if your virtual reality pod was making you sick, Doc said. Grian and Mumble let out identical sighs of relief. Don't scare me like that. Mumble put a hand to his heart. Sorry, Doc chuckled. Very much not sorry. Grian shoved a sweater at Mumbo. Before his eyes, he saw, as well as felt, an injury appear on Mumbo's right shoulder. A piercing wound flourished on his skin, as red as the eyes of a red life. And Grian felt it. He looked down at his own right shoulder, not sure if he was expecting or hoping to see an arrow sticking out of him. A darker red seeped through his sweater. The phenomenon was too familiar, too recent to forget. One thought pounded through his mind. Scar had gotten shot by a skeleton. Grian walked past Mumbo and Doc, who were rambling to each other about the possibility of a glitched bow shot, and where it had come from, to the windows. He broke a hole through the deep slate wall and looked through the glass across the river for his and Mumbo's starter bases were in sight. He couldn't see Scar from here. Mumble put a hand on Grian's right shoulder, making him yelp in pain and flinch away. Whoa, mate, are you okay? Mumbo stepped back. He still wasn't dressed, holding his borrowed sweater to his chest. I was going to ask if you could check your hearts. Grian clutched his shoulder, putting pressure on the wound with a grimace. No, I'm fine. Sorry, why am I checking my hearts? Mumbo frowned. Wait, did you get hurt too? How did either of us get hit, Doc? He turned away. Doc said something, but his voice was a buzzing drone in Grian's ear. Just as Mumbo's voice became garbled to him, his heart pounded with the pain of 3, and he needed to run. He had to find Scar, make sure Scar was okay. He wasn't about to turn them yellow. This wasn't double life, but it sure felt like it. His shoulder throbbed. Grian turned his arm to look at his communicator and pressed one of the side buttons, displaying his health. He was down a heart, but he also saw what Mumbo was talking about. Please tell me this doesn't mean what I think it means. Grian desperately looked to Mumbo and Doc for help, trying to find some hint in their faces that this was not a prank. Please tell me we're not in hardcore mode. The hearts were angry.